this fella Steven Pinker. You heard of him?
No.
Okay, well, he's a political philosopher. He's at Harvard, right? So Pinker comes out, and he says, okay, so everybody complains about austerity, and they might complain about conflict, but he's saying, look, the rate of wars has gone down since 1945, and he's saying the rate of homicides has gone down since the 1990s. It's the lowest it's been, say, in somewhere like New York City. And so you got to say some folks have got it better off now than they had it 20, 30 years ago, right?
The people that say those things of like, you know, oh, we've never had it this good, obviously haven't seen like the reliance on food banks, obviously haven't seen like the amount of people of colour literally getting incarcerated and killed in the US and the UK. It's like Yarlswood, for example, the detention centre. So yeah, I think that it's kind of, I think that you have to come from a position of privilege in order to make those claims. But then in terms of, I think that there's been a good level of resistance that we've seen. So in the last elections and through protest movements like Black Lives Matter, the Women's March, I think that they're really important shifts towards resistance that have been kind of led by young people.
What it sounds like to me is like, all right, you got all these people and they're marching quite rightly for LGBT rights and transgender rights. And thank God we got same-sex marriage, which I never thought we'd see in my lifetime, right? And we even once apparently had an African-American as president in the United States. So that seems a long time ago. But I'm sort of addressing this to you and to that Steven Pinker guy, which is, where's the space for considering if life is better for like someone who's had to flee Syria? Are we all being just a bit Western-centric?
Well, from our perspective, I think that one way to overcome like Western-centric viewpoints and like within academia, we have the opportunity to kind of connect with people who aren't going to be in academia. So I think that like teaching, for example, is a really important form of resisting those like colonial perspectives. I think that it's also relative as well, because I think if you say to someone that's living off food banks in the UK, oh, well, you haven't got it as bad as a Syrian refugee, that's how things like Brexit happen. I think that, yeah, like they're both tragedies and that they should be something that's solved by government and through political discourse, but I don't think that when you start to compare and say that things are, it's not as bad as this person, then that's how like animosity is created, I think.
You know what would make me happy? You know, 6 months from now, there was a person who checked their political affiliation at the door, but they came in and just told me, you know what, I know something more about this issue, which might be like how poor folks have it in this country, or it might be, for example, I know something more about why we need gun control in the States, or I know something more about what has caused a conflict like Syria. That's what would make me happy, you know? And it's like if you just take a step back and someone says, yeah, I understand what's happening now beyond my doorstep. Maybe we got a shot.